The Popseidon is a very powerful tower. It has a great main attack, and it also has a very powerful ability that can slow and destroy a lot of balloons across the whole screen. But most notably recently, EchoSense got a huge buff where it could basically cover the whole track. So what if I try this out on tricky tracks, a map that is a little bit tricky, as I have pointed out a few times before. So let's just run this. I'm going to be starting off with 2 Desperados as per always, and it took me a good while when this map first came out to nail this placement, but I can get it super easy now, where you just have 2 Desperados that go straight into a sniper, and then the sniper will be able to save up into usually a mermonkey that will be able to take out round 10 super easily. It's just a little bit of micro, and it's not really that big of a deal, but it saves a lot of space and a lot of room, and I guess just in general money in the early game, because you don't have to waste it buying darts, which aren't very useful. So cool trick if you want to replicate that. It's not really that hard in a black border. It might take a few times, and it might make your early game a little bit easier, but that's just something cool that I found out. So I'm going to go on and simply spam mermonkeys in the early game. It might look really ridiculous, but if you just get a ton of base mermonkeys, it's actually kind of strong. Their main attack is super powerful, has great pierce and great damage for its price, so they'll just do very well. I have Geraldo here mostly because round 100 is going to be kind of the limiting factor. I should be able to take out everything besides round 100. Round 95 might be a little bit of the exception, not the DDTs, the purples. The DDT should go down fine. So Geraldo really is going to be the thing that will take out round 100 the cheapest out of all of the heroes, and then the mermonkeys should be able to just deal with everything else. And then finally, Geraldo will be able to take out some of the very small niche inconsistencies that the Popseidon will have. The Popseidon will be able to take out most of everything, but some things it might struggle with, so we'll check that out. The rest of this early game should be going by pretty quickly. I'm going to get this Riptide Champion up, then everything else will pursue. I was kind of forced to buy a lot of my tier 3s before the discount, so I ended up going with 1 discount. It might have been worth it to get 2 discounts, but then some kind of placements would be a little bit iffy. It probably would be, but it really isn't that big of a deal. It would have only maybe saved a few $100s, I think. So I'm going to get a bunch more tier 3s and some more EchoSenses, and that will kind of fill it out. I'm not going to have 10 Riptide Champions, but I will be using these Riptide Champions to save up. I'm checking for placements if I need to place a glue there, probably a Moab glue, but it ends up actually being a glue hose out of all things for around 95. And then I have that Abyssal Dweller, or no, Abyssal Warrior is the tier 4, that will be popping a lot of purples and stuff like that, also buffing the Pierce, which will be kind of useful, and slowing down some Moab. So a whole lot of things, very useful. Basically, the setup is really only mermonkeys doing the damage. I have an Alk buff For the soon-to-be Popseidon, I didn't really have to get that there. I could have just bought it after Popseidon, but whatever, I guess. And then Geraldo gets down on round 57. Of course, that is for the restock on round 98, which I will be using to kind of beat round 98 with 8 creepy idols. That's a very fun way to be able to beat round 98. It's kind of like basically the power of a whole super glue, I would say, for free. That just 8 creepy idols will really slow and stun that much, along with sending ceramics back, so it really frees up the pierce. It's kind of crazy how strong that is. So that will be really the solution for 98. Then everything else should go down pretty easily, and I'll be able to do a double genie to be able to beat round 100. And if I ever need it, I can also use a rejuve potion, which will be very useful to get Popseidon ability back, which I do end up using once in the late game, so it was a good thing that I had that in mind. After that, really it's going to be pretty simple. I should have all my mermonkeys up, and I can go for the save up for the Popseidon. I started saving up quite early, which is very useful because I want to get the Popseidon down before round 80, where super ceramics start coming in. And then after that, I will simply just be getting an overclock to buff its damage up a whole lot. That's kind of needed for round 100 and a lot of rounds in the late game. And then I will be able to go into the late game and kind of see how that goes for me. Hopefully it should be pretty chill. I know the Popseidon is super powerful, and it's got so much range too, so that will only help it. And also, a lot of these Riptide champions, they still do a lot of damage. They are not bad towers, and they will put their work into the late game. Round 75 was kind of difficult in the mid game. That was really the only round that took some RNG or some trying. As you can see, a lot of these ceramics were basically leaving, but after that it was no problem, and all the other rounds before that weren't really any of a problem too. Going into the late game, a lot of these rounds seemed to be pretty easy. I was scared that the DDTs would kind of get back, but this is very funny. There's literally just ocean waves going everywhere. Whether it's from the Popseidon or the Riptide Champion, they're going to be very effective stopping everything, so it basically gets covered in a whole screen of craziness. Now, round 95 was definitely a bit of a challenge. These purples were not easy to take out, and the easiest solution that I ended up finding was to get a glue hose, and in the middle of these rounds, put the Geraldo spikes where the balloons were kind of about to leak. And out of all things, that is what did it. There were just enough spikes to barely last all the way to round 95. Then once I got to the actual DDTs itself, that was completely free. It took me a long time to get to seeing the DDTs, and then once the DDTs came along, everything was just beaten in one try with no issue. Just pop that ability and all goes down. Round 96 will go down too, and then round 97, this is where things got a little bit tricky because I kind of couldn't beat this round just by having them come in and out. I first off start by placing using the 4 creepy idols, and I use the ability early on and then overclock a little bit late too, so I have it up for the beginning of 98. But I don't really have the ability coming back super quick. Luckily, with enough RNG, it did work. I didn't have to use a rejuve, which is very nice. I just had to use kind of 2 extra glues for the middle lane, and then there's those like ZOMG clumps are starting to leak through, but luckily the ability comes back. I placed it in a certain area so it will go all throughout the middle, and after that everything gets cleaned up. 8 creepy idols just stops a lot in its track, so I was able to take down 98 with just that, which is kind of impressive. 99 is here now, and with 2 genies that kind of goes down without much of an issue. And then finally for round 100, I do still need a little bit of spikes and stuff, so luckily I had the overclock, but on top of that I will be using a rejuve. I have 1 ability, and then I bring that off, get OC back, and then another ability, and that with some luck is able to take down Tricky Tracks Chimps with Popseidon and 53,000 cash spare, which is not that bad of an ending, I'm going to be honest. 53k spare for this map is pretty good, and especially for a strat so funky as this and with needing help on round 95, I quite enjoyed this challenge. It was very cool.
Thanks for watching. If you want to help out the channel, you can check out these new videos, like and subscribe for more content, support the channel by becoming a member, and joining the Discord to chat with the community. Bye!